Sean Haney here with RealAgriculture.com and Real Ag Radio, Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Earlier today on this Wednesday, we had a press conference that was, hosted by CFIA and the Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food, Marie-Claude Bebeau, and she gave an update on a real pressing plant breeding issue that impacts seed companies and growers across the country. And here to provide perspective today on what we heard, it is the President and CEO of CropLife Canada, Pierre Petelle. Pierre, great to chat with you.
Great, thanks for having me, Sean.
Okay, this has to do with gene editing. Now, give us the update. Like, what were we waiting to hear today? What was the process here that was being undergone by CFIA?
Yeah, this is so the way plant breeding innovations like gene editing get approved is there's three kind of pillars. There's the food side by Health Canada, there's the environment side, and the feed side. And those are managed by CFIA. And so what we saw today was the release of the second pillar, the environment side. So Health Canada released their guidance last year, very good, science-based, solid. I think it provides a lot of clarity to industry, to innovators, both small and large. And what we were waiting for is the CFIA guidance to support that, because you can't just do one pillar. And this is what we've been anxiously waiting for. And so today was the environment side. So there's just one piece left, is the feed side, but we're hoping that'll just come in sequence very quickly here. But this is what we've been waiting for, is the guidance for innovators, again, small, large, public, private, to know the rules of the game as to what is considered novel, what would need a full review versus be treated like a conventional bred crop. That's what we were waiting for.
Do we understand yet the timeline for that third pillar, that feed pillar, to be determined?
Well, we're pushing hard that they get because they have to do a consultation phase, and that hasn't happened. So we're hoping that they will go to consultation like right away this spring, so that they can finalize the final document by the fall.
Is there, and maybe this is a really kind of silly way to look at it, is this the highest of the three hurdles, or are all three of the pillars kind of treated equally in terms of the test that we have to pass here? How do we view this last pillar?
That's a good question, Sean. I think from our perspective, the food issue that Health Canada reviewed really serves as a model for feed, because really you're talking about how whether or not these products have any impact on someone or something consuming them. And so we think the parameters and the criteria for what's in, what's out should be very much aligned with the Health Canada model that's already out and published. So we're pretty confident that that the last piece should be fairly straightforward, and there's no reason to delay publication of it.
Yeah, you said something earlier, which I think is an important point when we talk about gene editing, and that was like large, medium, and small innovators. A lot of times we think about innovation in the breeding space, we think about large, but we know who those players are. From your perspective at CropLife, why is this important? This decision on gene editing, why is this important for small and medium innovators?
So the current practice, I mean, if you want to bring a traditional genetically modified crop to market, you got to have deep pockets. It's hundreds of millions of dollars worth of research and regulatory costs and support and infrastructure. And so that's why the benefits of GMOs have really been limited to a few very large acre crops and limited to pretty big multinational companies. What gene editing does is it opens this up, because the costs are so much less, and the specificity and ability to get a ROI is much easier. And so now you've got universities, you've got startups, you've got medium-sized companies that can play in this field and create almost field-specific requirements. So if a particular mill needs a particular type of flour for their specific type of pasta or bread, they can almost tailor that to the field level, and it's not hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investment. So that's what's exciting about, is that really the variety of potential new innovations that could come of this, and then the value added that comes from that, and all of the compounding effects of that.
And so this decision, now just lay it out here for us, because you're in the weeds of this on a daily basis, so to speak. Basically, gene editing is deemed to be the same as conventional breeding, and not a GM type of breeding, but they are going to come up with, in the, I guess, in the spirit of transparency, there's going to be some sort of list or database that they're building. Talk about that.
Yeah. So firstly, on the list, that's actually industry that's created a database that will provide clarity on which traits have been approved and which through which mechanism. So whether it's gene editing or otherwise. It's not just, so there's a lot of sectors, right? The grain trade sometimes has customers that need that information. So they wanted that transparency from the seed sector in order to really be supportive of this technology. And what the industry has done is developed a mechanism to ensure that whoever needs that transparency will have access to it. And for the grower on the ground, nothing really changes. They get their information from seed guides. If you're an organic grower, you see exactly what's suitable for organic production or not. None of that information is going to change. That transparency and communication is not affected by this release of this document. So that part of it is nothing changes, right, in terms of transparency. And in fact, Canada and what the industry is doing here is gone further than any other jurisdictions in terms of the involvement and commitment to transparency and creating these databases for the value chain. And so we're pretty proud of that. And I think it has meant that we're aligned. So the grain industry is aligned with the life science companies in this technology and seeing the benefits of it. And that's not the same everywhere in the world.
Okay. And on the conventional versus GM, this we're saying that gene editing in Canada would be on the conventional side.
Well, it depends. So what the criteria, what the guides do is they give you clarity. So if your new crop or new trait that you've developed does X or Y or is significantly different than something that was there before, then it might trigger a novelty designation, which means you'll be treated more like a GMO. But if it doesn't, if you follow the criteria and if it doesn't trigger those things, then you'll be treated like a conventional crop. So what it's done is it's created predictability and clarity around those questions that breeders had for many years here. They didn't know if it was this particular change would trigger a full review. And what happened, and we surveyed small breeders to find out, is many times they were shelving new innovations because they assumed this would trigger a full review and didn't have either the resources or the capacity to do so.
Is IP like, we don't have plant patents in Canada. Like, from an IP standpoint, does anything change, or is it the same as it was before?
No, I think our system is well established in terms of protection of intellectual property. And I know there are still some gray areas in Canada in terms of return on investment and different models in that. But this particular guidance doesn't change any of that, and those discussions still are still ongoing. But certainly, from our perspective, this is a very positive development, and I think it opens the door to a lot of innovation that other countries were already starting to get ahead of us on. That's the other part here. We're not leaders in the space anymore. We're playing catch up a little bit. So
I was just going to ask you about that. That was my next question. You're a little telepathic.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's good, because it's an important point. My understanding was at one point we were kind of leading the charge, and we've fallen back with the Kentucky Derby right around the corner. We can use some horse racing analogies. In terms of our competition, the export market, for example, like Australia or the US, are those the countries now we're kind of chasing on this matter?
Yeah, so it's interesting because when the technology was first being discussed, and the scientists who discovered CRISPR-Cas9 won the Nobel Prize, like there was a lot of discussion around what this would mean in both human health and agriculture, and all of us were kind of saying, okay, we got to pave the way for these technologies. And so we were having early discussions like 7-8 years ago with regulators to say, like, this stuff's coming, and we're not sure that, well, we're confident that our system isn't really prepared for it. And so we thought we were at the front edge of that, and other countries were kind of didn't know what to do either. And fast forward to now, 13 other countries have kind of clarified what the rules are. And in most cases, they're saying, you know what, this is much more like conventional breeding than GMOs. And so we're gonna treat it like conventional breeding. And they've given that clarity. And so now companies for the last couple of years have been able to say, okay, in the US market, for example, we know how we're going to be treated. Whereas here, there was still that uncertainty. So now, if we can finalize this last piece, we'll actually have sort of leapfrogged the other countries, because what we've done differently is we've also addressed the food issue, the Health Canada part, where other countries have maybe handled the environment part and been clear on what the environmental considerations. Where we're sort of ahead now is that we've had a clear determination from Health Canada that the products produced from these technologies are no different than conventionally bred crops. So in terms of food safety, there's no need for any additional review. So that will propel us a little bit into the future, ahead of the other countries.
Pierre, thanks a lot for talking about today's announcement and what it means going forward. And we still have that third pillar to that hurdle to, I guess, launch over. But we'll definitely watch this progress and with great anticipation. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me, Sean. Have a good day.